Good evening, everyone.
Good
So,
evening, ma'am.
good evening, Ashutosh and Vishnu and Ashutosh, everyone. So, today we have completed the southwest monsoon, right? So, we are going to cover that tropical cyclone, okay? With the concept also, of course, I'll try to connect it. If there will be any doubt, of course, you guys can ask me. Okay? Make that in tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclone. So, actually, first we are, yes, Dia, any doubt? So in that, even before the start of the tropical cyclone, we'll start with the cyclone only, है ना? Because when we talking about the cyclone, tropical, where we are talking about that, so okay. So this is your Earth, है ना? So this is your Earth, okay? Earth का hemisphere. Okay, tropical, that means first of all we are going to talk about the cyclone. The cyclone is actually divided into your two areas. The first is your extra tropical cyclone, and the second one is a tropical cyclone. On what basis we are dividing it? Of course, on the basis of location. So this is your equator. So nearby equator region is your called the tropical, and above than that, that is subtropical area is called the extra tropical cyclone. Okay, chalo, write it down. Cyclone. Cyclones are the low pressure centers. Cyclones are the every single word, whatever we are dictating, whatever we are writing, is one of the question. Okay, are the low pressure center surrounded by close isobars, surrounded by close isobars with increasing pressure outwards, with increasing pressure outwards, and winds flow from outside high pressure from outside high pressure to center low pressure, to the center low pressure. Okay, so what is the cyclonic condition? Is the cyclonic condition is a kind of that kind of scenario. Suppose that, so what we have seen generally, the cyclone is moving in like that manner. Okay, that means winds are moving from outerwards to the inwards. So we have already talked about the direction of wind depends on the pressure, है ना? There are so many factors, but major आपका when we have talked about the southwest or the winter, and also there we have also talked about that because of that position of sun, the actually temperature and which is impacting the pressure, है ना? So what is happening actually? If you want to if you want to connect the diagram like that, so the diagram is like this. So this is called the lower pressure. It is your I. So actually the here this is your higher pressure outward. This as you go from here to here, this is the lowest pressure to the this is the highest pressure. This is actually the pressure quantity or the amount. So wind is moving from higher pressure to the lower pressure, but the eye is become very silent or the very quiet. Okay, right now outside higher pressure to the center to the center lower pressure in such a way that that wind deflects anti-clockwise in northern hemisphere. Dia, what I need to repeat? I have just said that cyclones are low pressure centers surrounded by close isobars with increasing pressure outwards, and wind blows from outside higher pressure to center lower pressure in such a way that wind deflects anti-clockwise in northern hemisphere. Underline that. Anti-clockwise in northern hemisphere and clockwise in southern hemisphere. Full stop. Why there is need of the direction? First of all, why we are saying that? Suppose that if you are connecting it here, why there's a need of that? This is your northern hemisphere and this is your southern hemisphere. Suppose that we can consider like, okay, generally when we talk about the types of wind, suppose that when we talk about that easterlies or the westerlies or the trade winds, you know, Do the westerlies or easterlies are moving in the circular manner? No, they're also moving from that higher pressure or to lower pressure, because they are the permanent winds. This is a different concept. But whenever we have talked about that, you know, so westerlies or easterlies are moving from the west to east, that is the westerlies, and east to west, that is your easterlies. But how it is different from the tropical or the cyclonic movement? Because in that cyclonic movement the winds are moving in an anti-clockwise or clockwise direction, because it has to rotate in that circular manner. Okay, so that is why it is the need of direction to increase the speed also. वो हम लोग ने सेंट्रीफ्यूगल और सेंट्रीपिटल फोर्स कवर किया था ना, accordingly like that. Okay, so when we suppose that there's a stone, you know, which is tied with that a thread, so when we are rotating it, we are creating that pressure outwards more than the lower pressure, than the inside of it. Okay, deflection is necessary. Deflection is necessary for direction. किसके कारण होता है? Why there's a change of the direction in the northern hemisphere, that anti-clockwise, and the southern hemisphere, the clockwise? Vishnu or Subhashri or Sanya? Sanya, I've seen your copy answer. That's good. But you need a little elaboration. Yes, Vishnu, what is the region of that northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere deflection? Sorry, what is the factor behind that?
Low friction.
Friction generally, Vishnu will work on that surface level only. But when we talk about the cyclone, it actually, you know, rotates above the surface also.
Yes, ma'am. The rotation, ma'am, like in the wind, no, ma'am, the west to east.
Actually, Vishnu, I am asking the question that why it is rotating anti-clockwise. This is the direction anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in southern hemisphere. That is something I'm asking. What is the factor behind that? We have done a survey. Yes, Subhashri?
Due to Coriolis force.
Yes, very good. Right? Remember, due to the Coriolis force, we have written that Coriolis force direction is actually moving in that anti-clockwise in the northern and the clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Right? You know? Deflection is necessary for direction caused by Coriolis force. Caused by Coriolis force. Next, write down. Cyclones can be classified mainly into two types. Cyclones can be classified mainly into two types. The first is, write down like that, tropical cyclone, tropical cyclones, and extratropical cyclones. And extratropical cyclones. Tropical cyclones के आगे लिखो.
Members, why the basic cyclone occurs?
I didn't get your question, Ashutosh. Please repeat, Bacha.
Member, why the basic cyclone occurs?
That's what we are going to write further. The movement of wind and the Coriolis force is something, one of the major factor which is rotating the winds in that way above the surface of the ocean, not even the land. So when we have covered that local winds, you know, such as your Kal Baisakhi and the mango sour. So that kind of wind we have covered on the land surface. This kind of winds generally, not generally, but occurs on that sea surface or the ocean surface or the water surface. Okay, so that is called the cyclone. So that's why we're going to write how the cyclone form, why the need of the cyclone form. That we are going to write the further. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, good. Write it down. Tropical cyclone में between 10 degree to 13 degree north, between 10 degree to 13 degree north and south, जैसे कि suppose that here this is your equator, so between that this is a 10 degree to 13 degree. यहाँ पे what it is, so from here 10 degree to 13 degree है ना, this is your tropical cyclone. ठीक है, and the south portion also between that 10 degree to 13 degree, this is your tropical cyclone. These are also named differently है ना. Extratropical में लिखो between 35 degree north to 65° north and south, between the 35° north to 65° north and south. So other than that extra tropical cyclone 66.5, क्या उसको बोल सकते हैं, टेम्परेट साइक्लोन बोल सकते हैं, है ना, बिकॉज 23.5 पे तो आपकी ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैंसर हो गई नॉर्थ में, साउथ में ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैप्रिकॉर्न. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द सनलाइट डायरेक्टली तो 66.5 ऑलमोस्ट आपका टेम्परेट वाला जोन स्टार्ट. सो डाउन एक्स्ट्रा ट्रॉपिकल और temperate, also known as temperate cyclones, also known as temperate cyclones. So India is facing which kind of cyclone? India faces a cyclone, है ना, because the peninsula, both of this side have the Arabian and this Bay of Bengal. So India is comprising which type of cyclone? Right, everyone, India is facing Dia. Which kind of cyclone India is facing? Tanya?
I'm tropical cyclone.
Yes, of course, because India has a 23.5°, that is Tropic of Cancer, and that comes under the, वो भी आपका लैंड पे जाती है. So जो आपका पेनिनसुलर पार्ट है वो तो बिलो 23.5 है, तो वो तो प्रॉपर ट्रॉपिकल में ही जाएगा, राइट. चलो, फर्स्ट मेक द हेडिंग ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन्स. फर्स्ट मेक द हेडिंग ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन्स. They are the most dangerous atmospheric disturbances. They are one of the most dangerous atmospheric disturbances that develop in the tropical oceans, that develop in the tropical oceans and seas associated with release of moist heat and higher value of Coriolis force due to convergence of warm air masses, Next, they are known by different names. Dash करके, cyclones in Indian Ocean, hurricanes कहाँ होता है? Have you heard about that hurricanes? Yes, coastal USA. ब्रैकेट में कौन कौन से आपके स्टेट्स आते हैं कोस्टल यूएसए में? फ्लोरिडा, है ना. जब हम लोग वो पढ़ते हैं अमेरिकन रेवोल्यूशन, सो वी टॉक अबाउट दैट नॉर्दर्न एंड सदर्न स्टेट्स ऑफ द यूएसए, है ना. फ्लोरिडा, गल्फ ऑफ मैक्सिको, ये वाला रीजन है ना यहाँ पे. यस, ऐसे करके बनता है ना. सो दिस इज योर कंप्लीट गल्फ ऑफ मैक्सिको. ये आपका रीजन जो आता है गल्फ ऑफ मैक्सिको, यहाँ पे आपका जो आता है उसको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? हरिकेन्स. गल्फ ऑफ मैक्सिको, कैरेबियन सी. तो यहाँ पे आपकी जो भी कैरेबियन कंट्रीज हैं, विच आर ऑल्सो वन ऑफ दैट ऑन द वर्ज ऑफ द ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का जो इम्पैक्ट है, इंक्रीजिंग द ओशियन लेवल, राइट. कैरेबियन सी. थर्ड, टाइफून्स. कहाँ पर है? समथिंग टाइफून. दिस इज वर्ल्ड समथिंग रिलेटेड. जरूरी नहीं है हर चीज को रेटिफिकेशन करना. टाइफून, इट इज वर्ल्ड समथिंग रिलेटेड विद either the China or the Japan, है ना. So this is South China Sea. Write down typhoons in South China Sea. Kung Fu and all things, है ना. Kung Fu Panda is a movie also. South China Sea. Next, typhoon. अब ये तो चाइना हो गया. So what is remaining? Japan.
Japan.
Yes, very good, Sanya. Write it down. टाइफो इज योर जापान. दिस इज समथिंग वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. ऑस्ट्रेलिया जो है वो अपने डिफरेंट डिफरेंट नेम रखता है. विली विली इन ऑस्ट्रेलिया, या जैसे कि डाउन था ना, अलग टाइप ऑफ विली विली. विली विली ऑस्ट्रेलिया. विली विली ऑस्ट्रेलिया. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, ड्यू टू देयर हाई डिस्ट्रक्टिव पोटेंशियल, due to their high destructive potential, they have provided or given the proper names. जैसे कि आपके जो इंडियन ओशियंस में, this is something we are going, first we are going to cover the tropical cyclone concept, then we are going to cover how their naming occurs. So इंडियन ओशियंस में जो आपकी 8 to 9 कंट्रीज आती हैं, ठीक है, इंडियन उसकी बॉर्डर्स पे, जैसे कि इंक्लूडिंग योर इंडिया, है ना, how this naming occurs including your India, then Bangladesh, little bit Myanmar, we are not including that Asian countries. Okay, then here the Pakistan के बाद आपका ईरान के बाद आपका सऊदी अरेबिया यहाँ पर है, यमन और ओमान साथ में, दिस इज योर ईरान, दिस इज द पाकिस्तान, कॉन्स्टिट्यूटिंग लाइक दैट. उसके बाद आपका यहाँ पे सोमालिया आपका अफ्रीका में आता है, हॉर्न ऑफ अफ्रीका में. इसके बाद भी कंट्रीज हैं, इजिप्ट, है ना, ये जो आपकी बॉर्डरिंग कंट्रीज है, combinedly I think 8 to 9 countries, they are given in the start of the year, they give the name, है ना. और उसके अकॉर्डिंग पे does not matter कि इंडिया फेस कर रहा है कि यमन फेस कर रहा है. जैसे आपका अल्फाबेटिकल ऑर्डर में इनका जो नेम है वो चूज किया जाता है. जैसे कि एक आया था गुलाब, है ना, ऑफ कोर्स श्रीलंका आल्सो, हाउ कैन वी फॉरगेट द श्रीलंका. तो गुलाब वाज नेम गिवन बाय द पाकिस्तान. ऐसे अभी रिसेंटली जो था उसका म्यांमार ने नाम दिया था. ऐसे से करके क्वेश्चन. We'll do the naming after that. Next slide around. Tropical cyclones are called depressions. When their wind speed is 60 kilometer, 60 to 66 kilometer per hour, also called as cyclonic storm. If their wind speed is 60 to 120 kilometer per hour. 60 to 120 kilometer per hour. If the wind speed crosses 120 kilometer per hour, they are called cyclones. Now write the most important heading, that is your condition for the formation of tropical cyclone. फर्स्ट, लाइक बिलो, वहां पे हमने जहां लिखा है ना 60 टू 66 में डिप्रेशन में, वहां पे लिख लो लाइक 30 टू 60 में, बिलो 60 पे आपका वो होता है. ठीक है, वहां पे सो फर्स्ट थिंग इज कॉल्ड डिप्रेशन, है ना. सो डिप्रेशन आपका बिलो 60 मतलब आपका 30 टू 60 रहेगा किलोमीटर पर आवर, देन इट इज कॉल्ड द डिप्रेशन, है ना. 120 प्लस चला जाता है तो उसको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, साइक्लोन्स. और साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म बोलते हैं 60 टू 120, है ना. 60 टू 120 में हम लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं, साइक्लोनिक स्टॉर्म. ठीक है, और साइक्लोन्स कब बोल रहे हैं, है ना, व्हेन वी हियर दैट साइक्लोन इज कमिंग, एंड IMD जनरली गिव्स द स्पीड आल्सो, कितने डायरेक्शन पे है. समटाइम इट गेट डिफ्लेक्टेड, when it get deflected that means its speed become lower, है ना. so that means it is not causing that much harm. साइक्लोन हम लोग कब बोलते हैं, when it is a greater than 120 किलोमीटर पर आवर. ठीक है, चलो फर्स्ट राउंड, कंडीशन फॉर द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन. कंडीशंस फर्स्ट, develop in the region. Acha, there's a one question before than that. Of course, we are going to write the cyclonic. So when we have written the tropical cyclone का जो ये है आपका, this is between your 10 to 30 degree, है ना? And then extra tropical we have written almost 35 to 65 degree. Why not between that 10 degree north to 10 degree south? There is also what we say, ocean. There's also water. Then why not in here? Very good, very nice. Yes, Subhashri or maybe Vishnu. Why not here in that between 10 degree north? Why not at the 0 degree or between that 10 degree north to 10 degree south? There is not forming any condition of the tropical cyclone. Why there is not the tropical cyclone forming? Or anyone? Adarsh has already answered. Tanya?
Ma'am, because the Coriolis force is very weak at that point.
Okay. If you want, you can little elaborate also. What if the Coriolis force is weak? How it is contributing in the cyclone forming? Yeah, tropical cyclone is not very weak, but zero at that equator. है ना? We have already written that when we move from that equator to the poles, cyclonic Coriolis force is increasing. But how the Coriolis force is contributing in the cyclone formation?
Ma'am, maybe because the winds goes towards the equator, not on the south. The trade winds.
Not exact. Vishnu, Diya, Ashutosh.
हम एक्चुअली ट्रॉपिकल जो होते हैं वो जब ऊपर विंड में जब ये फ्लो करते हैं तो उससे जो जब ये जैसे कि फोर्थ साइड में ये रोटेट करते हैं तो उससे जो ब्रेक होता है तो उससे साइक्लोन की वजह से नीचे आते हैं, जैसे कि सेकंड क्वेश्चन पूछे थे उसका, पर फर्स्ट का मैं पता नहीं आंसर.
Okay, no issues, but you tried. That's nice. Yes, Adarsh, tell me the exact answer. Arey Baba, what we have initially, you guys actually have already answered it. You guys cannot connect it. In the initially when I asked this question and the answer was a Coriolis force, है ना? So what is doing the Coriolis force? So normal wind is flowing, your westerlies, easterlies are flowing like that, west to east, east to west. How the cyclone condition is different from the flow of cyclone में भी क्या हो रहा है? Wind flow connected like that, guys. It's a very easy concept. Cyclone में भी क्या हो रहा है? The wind is flowing. Normally भी आपकी wind is flowing, either the permanent or something like that. What is the difference between both? In the cyclone, there's a particular direction that is your anti-clockwise and the clockwise, not direction that is west to east or east to west. No, I'm not saying that. The direction it is rotating, tropical or the extra tropical, the cyclonic condition in which winds are rotating. Where the winds are rotating from your so winds are rotating. यहाँ पे there is a I. We have already started writing like that. That here your higher pressure and here is your lower pressure inside of that segment. So wind is moving like that, right? So why the wind is moving like that? Because here the higher pressure and here the lower pressure. That means wind need to move in that particular circular direction. We have already talked about the centrifugal and centripetal force. How this wind move in the circular direction? Because of the Coriolis force. है ना? Because Coriolis force is acting on that anti-clockwise. What is Coriolis force? Coriolis force is not something the normal force. Coriolis force is a type of a force, or is a kind of a force which is moving in that particular direction in that rotationary wise. है ना? And because of that rotationary wise motion of that Coriolis force, the wind is also moving in that rotation wise. प्रेशर वेशर का कॉन्सेप्ट तो हम बाद में करेंगे. सोचो अगर यहाँ पे व्हाट इफ यहाँ पे Coriolis, suppose that consider like here, consider here in that 10 degree north to 10 degree south, there is a not Coriolis force, है ना? Even the wind will be very very fast speeding, but they will move in a single direction, either west to east or east to west. That is a separate topic that we're not going to talk about, है ना? That means they are not moving in a rotatory motion. If it is not moving in a rotatory motion, how can you say that cyclone it is? So that is why between that 10 degree north and 10 degree south, there is not the condition of the cyclone formation. Got it now? Everyone? Did we get this concept?
Ma'am, no.
Okay. Vishnu, Subhashri, do we get this concept?
मैम आई हैव वन डाउट मैम एक्चुअली। मैम ये कॉरिलियस जो फॉर्म होते हैं वो कैसे क्रिएट कैसे होते हैं मैम, जैसे कि नीचे से कैसे क्रिएट होता है एक्चुअली?
Okay. So force is something, an extra force, like external kind of force. Force is actually creating because of the pressure condition. Actually, everything, whatever we are talking about, that monsoon, cyclone, and everything, it is actually deciding by majorly two factors. First is the earth position. Second is the sun position. Remember, है ना? Why there is a force? Suppose that you are one of the person having so much pressure, like you have the so much efficiency. So if you want to put or shift this podium, you must have that kind of force to shift that podium. That is, you are applying the force or the pressure, right? So what is happening? Where is it, this is creating? So we have already done in one of the class, if you guys remember. So that is the position of that equinoxes. Remember the equinoxes position, that is your March and September. And here the tropic of this is your equator or the 0 degree. This is your 23 and half. This is your June and this is your December. यही तो था. This is your called equinoxes when the sun position is directly on that equator. So that means the temperature is very high at the equator. है ना? That means temperature is very high. So we have talked about already that ITCZ and everything. And 20, so it is actually creating the position of sun and the position of earth is creating the change in the temperature and the pressure wala concept. So that is one of the factor, and the movement of the earth too. है ना? When we have talked about ये वाला condition. So the movement of earth too. Everything is combinedly making this condition कि यहाँ पे प्रेशर ज्यादा है, कम है, किस लिए फोर्स, किस लिए यहाँ पे नॉर्थ ईस्ट में डायरेक्शन मूव कर रहा है, किस लिए यहाँ पे एंटी क्लॉकवाइज मूव कर रहा है, क्यों यहाँ पे क्लॉकवाइज मूव कर रहा है, एवरीथिंग. एंड देन अबाउट वी टॉक अबाउट दैट आइसोबार्स एंड आइसोथर्म्स व्हेन वी हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट दैट लाइनिंग. अच्छा ठीक है, डू वन थिंग, अभी कोरल फोर्स को छोड़ते हैं, एक बार कॉन्सेप्ट करते हैं, मे बी आफ्टर दैट वील कनेक्ट इट. आई विल आस्क दैट अगेन. फर्स्ट वी राइट दिस सम ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट. ठीक है, राइट इट डाउन. First, develop condition for the formation of tropical cyclone. It develop in the region of warm sea surface temperature. Warm sea surface temperature having temperature must be greater than 27 degrees Celsius. Temperature must be greater than 27 degrees Celsius. I'll elaborate each point one by one. Second, it requires high value of Coriolis force. It requires high value of Coriolis force. So tropical cyclone, therefore, tropical cyclone do not originate the origin between 10 डिग्री नॉर्थ टू 10 डिग्री साउथ. ये थोड़ा बहुत वेरी कर सकता है, लाइक 5 कहीं पे लिखा होगा, लाइक बिलो 10 डिग्री ऑलमोस्ट, है ना? Between 10 degree north and 10 degree south in equatorial region. Third, latent heat of condensation. Latent heat of condensation is a source of energy. Is a source of energy or driving engine of the tropical cyclone, or driving engine of the tropical cyclone. Hence, they originate on oceans. Hence, they originate on oceans and seas where abundant moist heat presence. Where abundant moist heat presence they die when the eye touches the land which is known as landfall. Fourth, next, they are associated with ITCZ, intertropical convergence zone. They are associated with ITCZ. What is ITCZ? ऐसे नहीं, proper word से बताना है. हाँ ठीक है, tropical one is correct. Define it. North and south hemisphere में जो आपकी winds है, which winds is they are called? Yes, good. Driving in क्या लिखा? They are associated with the ITCZ because in the region of ITCZ, convergence of several warm air masses.
मैम
Yes.
मैम ये ITCL करके ये इक्वेटर जो होते हैं ये क्या होता है एक्चुअली?
Vishnu, you haven't taken that class. We have talked about ना ITCZ. ये होता है ना आपका ITCZ. This is your 0 degree. ठीक है? So when we have talked about that winds, so here the trade winds in the northern hemisphere and the trade winds from the southern hemisphere, where they actually meet. This is the region called the ITCZ. This position is actually shifted. That means ITCZ. That is actually this word indicate the meaning of itself. Intertropical convergence and zone, where the two tropical winds are converging towards each other. है ना? So these tropical winds, abhi I'll elaborate each single point. Whatever you're writing now, just don't worry. I'll elaborate each single. Intertropical convergence was just we have already done that this too. Remember this whole idea? So according to the
Yes,
change in the
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I've written the full form also.
Okay. So did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. ITCZ क्या लिखा है? Convergence of the several warm air masses. Of course, we know that warm air masses. All the elaborated. Okay. Full stop. So when ITCZ away from the equator, bracket में September to December, the tropical cyclones originates. Full stop. Tropical cyclones, next, ITCZ does not shift in the region of cold ocean currents. So tropical cyclones are absent on the western coast. So the tropical cyclones are absent on the western coast of South America, comma Africa and Australia, Next, there should be the presence of anticyclonic condition. Or high pressure in the upper atmosphere. Next, make the heading structure. Of cyclone, structure of tropical cyclone. TC लिख लो. Structure of short form नहीं लिखना. Structure of tropical cyclone. The average diameter of tropical cyclone varies from 30 to 300 kilometer, varies from 30 to 300 kilometers. What happened? 1 किलोमीटर नॉट एट ऑल. कैसे पूरा का पूरा कोस्ट खराब कर सकता है ये, है ना? किलोमीटर्स. एंड height can be, not is, can be approx 15 kilometer from the sea level. Full stop. At the center, there is low pressure zone. This rainless, cloudless center is called eye of the cyclone. Underline that, rainless and cloudless. वो कौन सी मूवी है जिसमें वो फंस जाता है? Life of Pi. Life of Pi में when they were sitting on the boat, है ना? So suddenly क्या होता है? So when they see that the cyclone is coming, and suddenly they just stuck in that eye. यहाँ पे वो फंस जाते हैं. So whatever the pressure, because it is having so much high speed and so much high उसमें, so whatever the resources, that is your fishes and all, वो क्या होने लगती है इसमें, इसके बोट में आके गिरने लगती है, because the wind is moving from high pressure to low pressure, and this wind is moving with the water of that ocean and all, है ना? So अगर आप साइक्लोन में यहाँ कहीं फंस गए हो, तब तो there's a no chance to save your life. But if you're stuck in here, that you'll always be, but of course the cyclone is moving, so you have to move according to the eye also, है ना? The cyclone is a moving condition. Eye of the cyclone, full stop. Due to the above high pressure, yes.
Can you please repeat after this rainless cloud?
Low pressure zone. Yes, I'll repeat completely. The average diameter varies from the 30 to 300 kilometer, or height is almost 15 kilometer from the sea level. At the center, there is a low pressure zone. At the center, there is a low pressure zone. This rainless and cloudless, underline that, this rainless and cloudless center is called eye of the cyclone. Is called eye of the cyclone. Full stop. Due to above high pressure in the atmosphere, due to above high pressure in the atmosphere, air descends in the region of eye slightly. Air descends in the region of eye slightly. Surrounding the eye, there is a huge wall of cumulonimbus. There's a huge wall of cumulonimbus cloud. This is a type of cloud. This is generally vertical in length. Its length is actually very high. There's a huge wall of cumulonimbus cloud called eye wall. Full stop. The most dangerous phenomena of tropical cyclone are the most dangerous phenomena of the tropical cyclone are storm surges. Storm surges are जितना भी इसकी speed increase होती जाएगी as we getting the warm water. अभी I'll elaborate it, don't worry. Just write it on. I'll elaborate each concept. Storm surges, full stop. They develop due to extreme low pressure. Extreme low pressure causes sea level to rise. This storm waves travels with a great speed along with cyclone along with cyclone, causing coastal flooding, comma, erosion, erosion, and submergence of agriculture fertile land, land, channel change. देखो अभी इसका डिस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है, ठीक है. सो हाउ द साइक्लोन इज फॉर्मिंग, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट दैट, ठीक है. उसके पहले वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट, वी आर गोइंग टू रिवाइज अ लिटिल बिट व्हाट वी हैव कवर्ड, ठीक है. सो वी नो द पोजीशन ऑफ द अर्थ और एक्चुअली द रोटेशन ऑफ द अर्थ, है ना. सो वी नो दैट अर्थ इज लिटिल बिट tilted, like this, है ना. So this is your tiltation of your a little bit 23.5 degree, है ना, इतनी आपकी tilted है. So that means, but we have already talked about that sun का the angle and everything, है ना. That means because of that tiltation of the earth and its rotation, there is a generation of the Coriolis force. ठीक है. Coriolis force is simple a type of force because it is because the movement of the earth is, sorry, rotation of the earth is different at their latitudes also, है ना. It's very slightly different, but there is a difference. So that kind of different, which is different in that latitudes, it is creating a certain kind of pressure called the Coriolis force, ठीक है, which is very low, which is almost zero at the equator, and as you go from that equator to the poles, it is increasing. That is that simple because of the different rotational speed of the earth, there is a creation of the Coriolis force, ठीक है. So Coriolis force first हो गया, उसके बाद this is zero at that equator, and as you go from the equator to the poles, it is increasing, ठीक. It is moving in the anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere. This is simple. Coriolis force का concept यहाँ पे खत्म होता है. Then there is a second condition. Of course, we have talked about that position of the sun is shifting from your equator. This is your 0 degree from your equator. So what I have asked earlier, that why between that 10 degree north and 10 degree south there is not the formation, that I'm going to talk about. So यहाँ पे there's a one topic of the Coriolis force. Second topic is about that position of the sun is shifting continuously. It is your called equinoxes when the position of sun, okay. So here we can write like that, equinoxes when the position of sun is at equator. Sun is at equator. That is your March and September. Why there is significance of the position of sun? It's that much important. March and September, 22nd of March and 21st of September, 23 and 21st. Okay, March and September. So at that March position, है ना, that is also creating the change of that summer and winter even in India. Northern and hemisphere में there's a winter and summer. Why there's a change in temperature, है ना? So when the sun is facing directly to the equator, that means the temperature will become very high at that equator. But from that March to April, May and June. So when there's a earth is moving from March to June, sun की position आपकी, sun, the position of suns is also shifting from the equator to the tropic of Cancer. So now what is happening here? 23.5 hai. So now what is happening here? The tropic of Cancer is having the maximum temperature, है ना? But why the equator is almost having the almost good temperature? Because even if the sun is tropic of Cancer, this is a little bit, sun is not the point source, sun is not the छोटू सा source, right? तो उसका जो impact होगा, that will also unimpacted, but major ज़्यादा temperature comparatively कहाँ होगा? Where the comparatively maximum temperature? That will be on the tropic of Cancer. That's why during that March में जैसे position, as the position of sun is shifting from the March to the June, we feel a little start of the summer, do we, है ना? Because इंडिया की जो लैंड है उस पर 23.5 जाती है, एमपी एंड ऑल बहुत सारे स्टेट्स, ठीक है. So we feel a little hot or the summer, start of the summer, ठीक. We have already talked about it also. As a June, अब जून के बाद, जून to September, the sun is starts shifting to the September. सन स्टार्ट अगेन शिफ्टिंग टू द इक्वेटर, है ना. सितंबर के बाद यहाँ पे अब क्या हो रहा है, देयर इज अ गुड हीट, गुड अमाउंट ऑफ हीट ऑलरेडी इज देयर. तो जून में हम क्या मैक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑफ हीट फील करते हैं, ठीक है. सो व्हाट इट इज हीट इज क्रिएटिंग, so that is already created the very very low pressure, है ना. So we have connected this with the southwest monsoon because of the very low pressure in the northern hemisphere in that जून वाले सितंबर में, because the sun is locating directly, ये सन की जो रेस है वो डायरेक्टली वहां पे है. सो यहाँ पे आपके सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर में एट दैट जून में क्या है, यहाँ पे वेरी हाई प्रेशर है, right? At that time of duration, it's very high pressure, very, and wind is because of the low temperature, and wind is moving from the high pressure to the low pressure. That is origin of southwest monsoon. यहाँ पे टिबेटन प्लेट्यू वाला भी कॉन्सेप्ट है, दो, ठीक है, समझ आ गया. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अंडरस्टैंड द टाइमिंग ऑफ द साइक्लोन, है ना, देन वी गॉट इट. देन एज द सितंबर टू द सितंबर, अक्टूबर, नवंबर एंड दिसंबर. तो जून के बाद जो जुलाई अगस्त वाला सीजन है वहां पे इसमें क्या हो रही है, प्रेसिपिटेशन और रेनफॉल, है ना, मॉनसून आ रखा है, ठीक है, वही वाला सितंबर है. सितंबर से when the October, November, December, there is start of that winter, a little bit the change in the temperature, not the winter I would say, but a little becoming cold because the position of sun is shifting in that December. समझ आया first of all. So when the at that December the position of sun is your tropic of Capricorn, ट्रॉपिक ऑफ कैप्रिकॉर्न पे है दिसंबर में. सो वी आर एट द northern hemisphere, India is located in the northern hemisphere, so we feel the winter or the lower temperature. इतना क्लियर है एवरीवन? guys please tell me yes,
Yes,
no.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
ओके ओके फाइन ओके. तो कोरोलिस फोर्स और टेम्परेचर का कॉन्सेप्ट तो यहाँ पर है. The second is that latent heat of condensation. Second point, sorry, it requires a high value of the Coriolis force. So the अब we यहाँ पे समझ आ गया that अब we talk about the tropical cyclone directly. What is happening here? Because of this, here the ocean also is there, है ना? So at that duration of the month, the ocean is get so much temperature, है ना? तो वहाँ का pressure क्या हो गया है? Very low हो गया है. So there is a condition of that very low pressure and the coming wave is going to that higher pressure. Initially अंदर side में आपका क्या है, lower pressure because heat, because the ocean is getting heat. We know that land और land आपका बहुत जल्दी cold भी होती है और जल्दी heat up भी होती है, but ocean के साथ ऐसा नहीं है.
Ma'am, can you
Yes,
please
Subhashri?
repeat English?
Yeah, in English, yes, of course, I'll do that. So we know this is one of the concepts that land is getting heat up also very quickly and cold also very quickly. We know that, right?
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am.
Yes. So now we are going to talk about the Coriolis force ka concept. So because at that duration of time, tropical cyclone comes in a different time period in different hemisphere. Okay? When the sun position, of course, we connect with the hemisphere concept. So second point, आपका first point is the clear develop in the region of the warm sea surface temperature. Warm sea surface temperature when it will happen when. So when we talk about here warm sea surface temperature when the sun position is at the Cancer or the equator. So there the northern hemisphere का जो ocean होगा, the ocean of the northern hemisphere will have the warm SST, that is your sea surface temperature. This is obvious. The first point is very obvious. है ना? Depending on the sun position, the surface of sea will become hotter or the colder. Okay. Then the second point is that it requires high value of Coriolis force, so the tropical cyclones do not origin between that disk. So what is this? What is first of all tropical cyclone? The tropical cyclone is the movement of wind. First of all, understand the concept. Movement of wind from outer higher pressure to inner lower pressure. Okay, in rotationary manner. In rotationary manner. Either the anti-clockwise, clock is always moving in that circular manner, no? That is either in the anti-clockwise, that is in your northern hemisphere, or clockwise in the southern hemisphere. In the southern हिमी, इतना ऑब्वियस है, अदरवाइज हम इसको वेस्टर्ली ईस्टर्लीज क्यों नहीं कह दे रहे, राइट? इफ वी टॉक या परमानेंट या फिर नॉर्मल लोकल विंड्स, व्हाई वी आर नॉट सेइंग दिस इज अ लोकल विंड और समथिंग लाइक दैट, बिकॉज दिस इज अ रोटेशनरी मूवमेंट over the, of course, over the sea surface, over the warm sea surface. So warm is connecting the position of sun. Is it clear or not up till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how this rotation is occurring? This rotation, what we have mentioned it here. Where's the rotation? Yes. This rotationary movement is due to the Coriolis force. What was the Coriolis force? The different type direction of movement because of the different rotational speed of the earth. Simple. So what we have got earlier, the Coriolis force. The Coriolis force is simple, anti-clockwise. So whatever the movement, suppose that this is your sea surface, this is your sea or the ocean surface. So here what is happening in the tropical cyclone? This, because of the sun, they become heated, right? They become heated, the temperature become lowered, है ना? Sorry, temperature become, my bad, temperature become high, है ना? High temperature हो गया. So what will happening here? So temperature will become high, so the lower pressure will be there. So here, not in that between that 10 degree or the solid, we'll describe it here, as the temperature of pressure become lower. So external, so suppose that if we talking about that Indian Ocean, for the sake of that, suppose that if we talking about that Indian Ocean, यहाँ पे आपकी Asian countries है, we are not talking about that. So यहाँ पे या फिर consider any ocean. So the temperature of this area has become very very lower because of the surface temperature. So now it will start, and here also the Coriolis force is working, है ना? As the wind start moving, it will get deflect. Again, it will get deflect because of the Coriolis force. Why wind is moving? I don't think I need to describe it. Because the wind is moving from higher pressure to higher pressure is here. We will talk about that positive IOD and everything, है ना? So higher pressure at the outer side, जहाँ पे where the wind is, sorry, the surface, the sea surface is getting heated. यहाँ का there the temperature is lower, but temperature of this side is not lower now. So this is here this is the higher pressure. So wind is moving from the wind is moving from the higher pressure to the, यहाँ पे क्या है, there is a lower pressure in another hemisphere. So it is trying to come from that higher pressure to the lower pressure. Okay. So as is wind to trying to come from the higher pressure to lower pressure, because of that Coriolis force, it is turning into that anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere. Connected? अभी आया समझ में?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Okay. So this is the condition of the cyclone. So when we draw the cyclone, okay, so that we form the cyclone like this. This is called the eye of the cyclone. Here, this of course there are so many difference. When we talk about that, we will talk one by one point. Don't worry. अभी हमने क्या बोला? That is your cumulonimbus cloud. Cumulonimbus cloud is a vertical cloud, है ना? वो भी हम लोग बात करेंगे. So when we draw the cyclone का structure, we draw the cyclone का structure like this. The wind is moving from this side like that. In another hemisphere, of course, है ना? It is like that. So suppose that when you are rotating something, in between then there's a very calm and stable position. That is called the eye. There is your prelims ka question after 2020 about that eye. What is the thing of the eye? Okay. Now we are talking about that. Why we haven't mentioned the tropical or the extra tropical cyclone? It does not occur in that 10 degree north to 10 degree south or 7 degree north, like below the 10 degree, है ना? In that area. Huh. So in that area, between that 10 degree north and 10 degree south. So that does not mean यहाँ पे second condition नहीं follow. There is also second condition is follow. Even that area of also having that getting temperature high, sea surface ka temperature is becoming high, right? Everything is happening. So when did it start also moving like that only? But because of the absence of the Coriolis force, because Coriolis force is absent here. We connect like this. यहाँ पे. Yes. Suppose that this is your 0 degree. यहाँ पे what is it? There is a 0 degree. So there is also the second condition is following. The sea surface is getting temperature high, so the pressure from that, so the wind from that higher pressure to the lower pressure is start incoming it, but they are just moving that vertically normally. Because of the absence of the Coriolis force at the equator, the wind is not rotating like in a particular manner and do not forming the tropical cyclone. Do we get it? The second concept, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Vishnu, did we get this concept that because of the absence of the Coriolis force at the zero, the condition is following that higher pressure to the lower pressure. But because of the absence of the Coriolis force, these winds are not moving in that direction. Okay, simple. So that if it is not in the if it is not moving in the rotational condition, so we cannot call it the tropical cyclone. Got it?
मैम एक्चुअली ये ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन जो आते हैं मैम, वो ऐसे एक्चुअली ये कहाँ से फॉर्म है, ये कहाँ से फॉर्म होते हैं मैम? जैसे कि ये फॉर्म होके जब ये जैसे कि हमने पढ़ा था, जैसे कि ये करके कि पोलर जेट स्ट्रीम है और ये 4 स्ट्रीम है, जो जेट स्ट्रीम उससे फॉर्म होता है, तो उससे नीचे आने से वो साइक्लोन में फॉर्म हो जाता है वैसे करके। तो इसमें
Okay, नहीं, Vishnu, do not connect. देखो, okay, whatever you have read earlier, just forget it. Abhi cover with the from the, because of course this is NCERT, no. So do not connect with the westerlies or the jet stream or the permanent wind, or do not connect with at all. Tropical cyclones are just forming because of the tropical heat of oceanic or the sea surface by the temperature because of the position of the sun. Simple. Because of the different position, because of the different position, or the land or the ocean are getting heated or cooled at the separate level, है ना, at a different level. So nearby, suppose that if we are talking about, suppose that 23 and half, simple, consider like that. If you're talking about the 23 and half, so this is your, suppose that land area, this is your again land area. So it is getting cold very easily, it is getting cold very easily. But between that ocean or the sea surface, it is getting cold not that much easily. And because of the position of the sun or whatever whatever the timing that if you're talking about that, so this sea surface is getting the very high temperature, so it absorbed, and that created the environment of the low pressure over there. So if it is creating because of this very high temperature, bacha, so if it is because of very high temperature, it is having the low pressure, right? Temperature reverses pressure. So wind from that other area, है ना, जहाँ पे temperature is becoming low. So where is the temperature pressure become high? So wind from the other area is start moving inside of that lower pressure. Just understand this. अभी tropical cyclone finish नहीं हुआ है, but understand one by one point. If you mix up everything, it will become complicated. Okay, ये बस समझो, अभी simple इतना समझो. Is it clear?
yes,
Okay. Abhi wind is moving into that direction, and now wind is moving into a particular direction, either the north or either the anti-clockwise or clockwise because of the Coriolis. Major two factors: the difference of the temperature or the pressure and movement of the and presence of the Coriolis. That is only two factors. Got it? Do not consider anything else, Abhi.
okay, miss ma'am.
Okay. The third point is that latent heat of condensation is the source of energy. First of all, what is latent heat of condensation? We have already talked in the science. कंडेंसेशन क्या होता है? हाँ, कंडेंसेशन इज अ प्रोसेस, जैसे कि सब्लिमेशन है ना, गैस इज कन्वर्टिंग इनटू सॉलिड डायरेक्टली. सो कंडेंसेशन इज प्रोसेस समथिंग वेयर वी टॉक अबाउट दैट गैस इज कन्वर्टेड इनटू, गैस इज इन योर, गैस को गैस ही बोलेंगे. सो गैस में क्या है, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर, द मॉलिक्यूल्स आर वेरी फार फ्रॉम अवे, है ना. सो व्हेन इट इज कन्वर्टिंग इनटू दैट लिक्विड, so when it is converting into the liquid, do we call it, can we call it the condensation, है ना. So latent heat of condensation is a source of energy during that engines of tropical cyclone. Hence moist heat, they, when the sea or ocean, that means ये वाला top, ये वाला जो point है, इसको ऐसे consider करो. What are the engines of that? That means to run that cyclone particularly, है ना, what we require the precipitation. We require the precipitation. How this precipitation will do, है ना, because of that heat of sea surface already we have because there's a very large. Acha, there's a one more thing also, guys. There's a one thing. If there's a like have you ever heard that Mediterranean ocean में, Mediterranean Sea में there's a already there's ever be formed of the tropical cyclone? Do we heard that? Did we? No. Because there's a one and the very important condition for the formation of the tropical cyclone, the sea surface area should be large enough. Should be जिस चीज की dimension he is covering from that 30 to 300 kilometers. Don't we think that the area should be very, very high? Why the area should be very high? To run that tropical cyclone continuously from that higher pressure to the lower pressure and forming the circle or the rotatory circle structure, the area should be very high. Okay, so if the area should be very high, that means the condensation proper, that means it is running. Agar sirf wind hi run kar rahi hoti, then it will not be called like that, because of the different temperature. So what is happening, because of the very large surface area of the sea surface temperature, है ना, जहां पे आपका the very strong cloud formation occurs. And cloud formation, if you talk about the formation of the cloud, it is because of that evaporation. Hygroscopic particles, है ना, collects the moisture surrounds it, है ना, that is called the cloud only. And cloud has a potential of the precipitation or the rainfall. So already यहाँ पे condition, already the condition has been formed because of the very high temperature of the sea surface at that duration of time. So there's a very strong cloud formation occurred, that is called the cumulonimbus cloud, है ना. When the tropical cyclone condition forms, the यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ rain चल रही है, यहाँ पे तो सिर्फ wind चल रही है ना, there's only occurring wind. From where the precipitation is occurring? The precipitation is occurring from that very high cumulonimbus cloud. Cumulonimbus cloud. ठीक है, cumulonimbus cloud ही आपका tropical. Sometime we hear that ना, coastal area में आपका there's a cyclonic condition and we feel the lower of temperature or the precipitation in the northern area also, because of the such large or the vast area of the cloud formation. So until if there be not the cloud formation, the tropical cyclone engine का क्या function होता है? Why we are saying that engine is function that continuously running to that tropical cyclone. समझ आ गया? Because of the temperature, the already cloud condition has been formed. There's any doubt in the third point? Everyone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Sanya, Subhashri? No, right now cloud, generally when we talk about the cloud formation, we say that, okay, wherever the water condition, because of the temperature, the cloud formation occurs, है ना, evaporation, whatever the hygroscopic small molecules is there, they just collected the surrounding with that moisture content, and after the suitable, when the temperature become a little bit down, so they get fall, है ना, they get just precipitated in the form of the rain or the hailstorm or whatever condition. Okay, so this is a latent heat of condensation. That means whatever the hygroscopic particle, they will become condensed in the form of the water. That is the next point. Then we have talked about they are associated with the ITCZ. ITCZ is your intertropical convergence zones, because in the region of the ITCZ, as we have now we talk about the ITCZ separately. ITCZ क्या होता है? That's why I said I'll elaborate each point separately. ITCZ. अच्छा, so when we talk. Okay, so this is your area of the trade winds, है ना? This is your 0 degree and this is the area of the trade wind. Trade winds क्या है आपकी? Permanent winds है. Trade winds also your one of the permanent. I think that's how Vishnu you can connect it here with a little bit. So trade winds आपकी क्या है? This is your permanent winds. Okay. So we have already talked about in that trade winds when that 0 degree, above that 0 degree little bit and the below the 0 degree of little bit, these kind of wave converge with each other. इसके ऊपर तो आपकी westerlies हो गई, है ना? This is not we are going to talk about, because they are not converging. There's a different direction between the trade wind and the westerlies and the easterlies, है ना? So the zone where that tropical winds or the trade winds converge to each other, that is called the ITCZ. That means, can we say that this is the area where the generally low pressure is there? Because wind is moving again. Look at here. How that's how you solve the question. Why we are saying that low pressure? Because wind is always move that high pressure. And agar if you divide this line into like that, ये वाला, है ना? So this is your wind is moving from that high pressure. We have not about that pressure belt, है ना? But at least we know the basic concept that wind is moving from the high pressure belt to low pressure belt. And what we can see here, the wind is moving from that to that direction, है ना? And where these two different winds are converging to each other, that is your called the ITCZ. Do we get the concept why we are talking about the ITCJ? Guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they are associated with the ITCJ. So this is not the exact defined. So this ITCJ area shifts according to the shift in the change, according to the shift or change in the position of the sun. It's not very much, but it's just little bit above the equator and little bit below the equator. Not like it 23.5 को cross कर जाएगा, but yes, if it will reach up to 15 or something level, है ना? So what is how the ITCJ contributing? So they are associated with the ITCZ because in the region of the ITCZ, the conversion of the several warm air, है ना? So these warm air also supporting for that movement of the direction further, like further helping in that movement of the wind, because these are the kind of warm air moving from that higher pressure to the lower pressure. We have talked about that tropical lower pressure belt and subtropical higher pressure belt, है ना? So because of that, this ITCZ is playing one of the major role in that movement of winds in the tropical cyclone. Do we get it?
Ma'am, so this ITCZ,
Yes, yes.
can I speak?
Yes, yes, please, Anya, go on.
So this ITCZ, you are telling that they are shifting towards the like higher point.
Little,
So
little bit, yeah, little bit.
because of the warm air.
Yes, because of the shift. Just like when we have talked about the March to September. So as sun shifts its position, so they ITCZ जो zone है, there's actually zone, है ना? There should not be one point, है ना? Because there's a natural thing. So there should be not one point where that both of air are converging to each other. So there is a little bit zone. So this zone is shifting a little bit up and shifting a little bit down. That is something I'm telling.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Yes, Anush, you were saying something. यस यस बट हाँ ये आपका हेल्प कर रहा है ना? कंडेंसेशन वाला प्रोसेस नहीं है, बट ये आपका हेल्प कर रहा है बिकॉज दिस इज योर लो प्रेशर जोन, और लो प्रेशर है दैट मीन्स टेम्परेचर हाई है, दैट मीन्स लो प्रेशर में. अच्छा टेल मी, आपका डेजर्ट में ज्यादा तेज मतलब लाइक व्हेन देयर विल बी द लो प्रेशर देन विंड विल बी मूव वेरी फास्ट, और व्हेन वेरी हाई प्रेशर में टेम्परेचर इज वेरी सॉरी वेरी हाई प्रेशर में टेम्परेचर इज ऑलरेडी वेरी लो, सो द विंड विल बिकम अ लिटिल बिट हैवियर टू. सो वहां पे विंड इतनी तेज नहीं चलेंगी. And the third condition for the tropical cyclone should be the wind should be that fast enough. So how can wind that should be fast enough? The difference of temperature or the pressure will be there. ठीक है? Rest condition we'll elaborate in the next class. Thank you guys. I hope यहाँ तक समझ आया. If you didn't get any concept, I will repeat it again. But up for today, this is okay. ठीक है?
Thank you, ma'am.
Guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank